I think the answer is Deshaun Watson. McCaffrey, first of all, is a guy that is so versatile as a weapon. His rushing yards, his receiving yards, none of those I think are going to jump out at you simply because he can do so many things. So they'll be kind of more evenly distributed. Secondly, he's not a quarterback. So it doesn't matter who you are. You're not a quarterback. You're not going to get the same credit. And from Deshaun Watson, I saw things yesterday. I mentioned decision-making and reading defenses. Even the one score he had, the touchdown, where he ran it in. Man, defense, okay, I have the matchup. And that's really just good decision-making. That's not just flexing athletic ability, it's good decision-making. I also saw McCaffrey make good decisions as a runner. But again, the more even distribution of his rushing and his receiving yards, the fact that he's a running back and not a quarterback, because obviously Cam's going to get a lot of credit and success, I think the answer is going to be Deshaun Watson.
I disagree with you. Number one, because I think that even though Hopkins is a stud, I gotta wonder what kind of requisite weapons he's going to have to throw the football to. That's number one. Number two, I think Bill O'Brien will be relatively conservative and conventional with his quarterback because you want to elevate his level of confidence, and a lot will be relying upon Houston's defense to deliver the goods. Number three, when I think about Carolina, I think about the fact that they are on a mission to protect Cam Newton so you can stretch out his career. Christian McCaffrey is a dual back. He's multifaceted. He can not only run with the football, primarily he's going to be catching passes out of the backfield in short yardage situations. And he clearly has shown he has the speed to really make things happen for himself and his team. You can look at him right there. You watched him last night. The speed is clearly there. The elusivity to some degree is there. You can't ignore that. So when I look at all of those things, I pay attention to the fact that his number is going to be called more often than not because he can make plays with his feet after the catch. And I think as a result of that, you'll see Ron Rivera utilizing him more extensively. And as a result, that will make him more valuable than Deshaun Watson, basically in terms of numbers and things of that nature. I just see the system that Christian McCaffrey will be playing in, the protection of Cam Newton being a priority for the Carolina Panthers, combined with the conservative approach that I anticipate Bill O'Brien will utilize with Deshaun Watson. And I'll say for Rookie of the Year, I would give McCaffrey the edge in that regard. I think he'll have a better rookie season than Deshaun Watson in that regard.
McCaffrey is a spectacular, and as I mentioned, I thought underrated player in the draft. I thought he was actually the steal of the draft considering where he went and all the different things he can do. But sometimes multifaceted weapons out of the backfield, because they don't compile those numbers, wind up underrated, right? So I could see that happening with McCaffrey. Meantime, a successful quarterback is never underrated. Like, where do you, if you tally up wins and wind up in the playoffs and look good, the quarterback of that team, particularly if it looks like the future is bright, is going to get a ton of credit. And Deshaun Watson will, we both agree, eventually have that job. The question is when, and I think it'll be in the early part of the season if it's not week one. And then what can he do? Well, he has a pretty good offensive line. He has a guy who until last year, because they didn't target him enough, surprisingly, is an elite receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. You mentioned Lamar Miller, an excellent running back. They have a great defense. All those things tell me that Deshaun Watson is going to be a quarterback with a lot of wins. And in addition to that, he's going to have that something. You mentioned he has that star quality, that leadership ability that jumps out at you. The it factor, that's right. And a lot of that it factor, as I said, is reading defenses, making good decisions, making the people around you believe they can be better.
Far be it for me to accuse you of having a very long-winded answer to say the obvious, but damn it, I'm going to do it anyway. Because you act like Deshaun Watson's going to go out on the field and dictate it himself. It don't work like that. It's Bill O'Brien is going to play a very pivotal role in what we see from Deshaun Watson, and that cannot be ignored. He's going. If you've got an offensive coordinator combined with a head coach that are taking a relatively pedestrian and conservative approach, even though you're successful, if you're riding the wave of that defense and your job is basically to move the chains and just don't turn the football over, and you're successful in doing that, but you're not accumulating an abundance of yards. You're not passing for 4,000 yards as a rookie the way Cam Newton and then Jameis Winston have done. You're not doing something like that. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, I just think that Christian McCaffrey might have that breakout season.
Right, so Cam Newton's going to get a lot of the credit for what McCaffrey allows him to do, right? McCaffrey's going to make Cam's job easier, then Cam's going to get that credit. Who do you think's going to get the credit? Don't quarterbacks on great defensive teams who can make big plays in crunch time tend to get the credit they deserve?
Tend to. Not always.